We're talking about the future of entertainment, and sometimes I feel like I represent the old dinosaur entertainment, although we're news, we're not entertainment. But I'm curious, just in the time that you've been working, what are the most significant changes you've seen?
As you said, I've always worked with digital business model since I started working. So I didn't really feel like there was an old versus a new media. I can't really compare what happened. With VHS, I wasn't there. I was there as a consumer. I wasn't doing deals or understanding how it worked behind the closed door. So my view is, since then, in the last 10 years, it's been more of a transformation or a transition than old versus new. I think technology is putting the consumer front and center, and he's the one now making the choice. It's been an interesting the last few years as we see these new business models being created, whether it's a Netflix or even others, and so we have to adapt to that. The consumer now has many choices, whether they are legal choices or illegal ones, and as a studio we have to be responsive and give them what they're looking for.
And Terri, in your industry, the gaming industry, I imagine the changes have been astronomical, not only in the systems themselves and what they're capable of, but the audience.
Right.
What stands out for you?
Well, I think when you all think of games, if you're of my age or around there, you probably remember the old days of the Atari 2600 or the Pong, and it was a very singular experience, and the graphics and the speed over time really increased. But I'd say probably in the last 5 years with this new generation of consoles, the gaming business has really changed in that it's now very much a social experience where you're actually not just playing against the computer, you're playing online with all of your friends, and that's really become a social experience. So that has been a huge transformation for us as a company to go away from, we've actually done Saban Brands, we used to do the Power Rangers license, and we did a Game Boy Power Rangers game, and we did a GameCube game. But now what's transformed is they want to play those type of games free to play, which we used to obviously make a lot of money playing those games. So we've had to adjust to the free to play market, which has also been a big thing. But I'd say who plays games has exploded. It used to be, it was a core gamer in the basement playing, and now you've got everyone from senior citizens playing Wii bowling to young kids on an iPad who's a year old doing this and playing Angry Birds. So the market has exploded. There's at least 62 million people gaming all the time, and the market is just massive. So it's continued to grow, but it's also made us have to really adapt to the changing of the digital world.
The whole convenience factor seems like it really has changed the landscape. How has that impacted what you guys do?
So the way we think about it, we're lucky we're small enough. We have one major brand, and the audience is very, young to some extent because the show is still on TV. So you're looking at boys that are 6 and up, and then all the way to people who grew up on the show, right? So these are usually early adopters, and many of them they don't understand a world without the internet. That's what they grew up on. And so they expect things that grown-ups may not expect. For them, if it's not on Netflix, it doesn't exist at all. If it's not, they don't have the reflex of going into a store and buying a DVD as much as they used to, obviously. So as I was saying, we're lucky enough that we can make choices that are kind of going against what the studios are doing. They all have these windows where it's in theaters, and then a few months later it goes to pay-per-view, go to airplanes, then it's going on DVD, and so forth. So there's like very structured windows because they want to protect the DVD sales. We're lucky enough that we could do deals the way we feel they should be done. So an example, the first deal we did when we bought Power Rangers back was with Netflix. Didn't even think about DVD, it was straight to Netflix. Our library is so large. When you have 800 episodes, you can't find that amount of space at retail anyway. You couldn't walk into a Walmart or a Target or any of these stores and expect to buy all these episodes. We did the math. That's about 150 different DVDs that so the box set would be this big. Even if you do it, if you take years to release it, it would take you years, and you're not guaranteed to have a space. So Netflix, with one deal, you satisfy your audience. So that's kind of the way we look at it. And I think you hit it right on the head. Like the customer, give them what they want, and with the music industry, they're now expecting a lot more, faster, quicker, on demand, whenever they want, how they want it, and it's exciting for us.
And in Terri, in your business, what amazes me is when I think back to when I was a kid and we were playing video games, there were at any given time maybe 7 or 8 kind of popular games that you would actually play. How big is the content field that you work in now?
Well, the gaming business is over $20 billion in sales, so it's a massive business. And where the business is headed is we basically want to make great content that you'll be able to play and entertain yourself on any device. So whether that's streaming from the cloud with an OnLive is the leader right now in that area, or playing a game on your mobile device, whether that's a Sony Vita's their new system, or it's mobile on your phone, or it's on Xbox Live. We want consumers to be able to consume media or our content any way possible. So the goal is really to do that, and it's also to customize the media. So Xbox Live, the consumer can buy a new weapon to play. If you're playing Call of Duty, a new map pack for the game, new armor for a game. So you're able to customize that media and also consume it in smaller splices than you used to in the past. Similar to iTunes, where you had to buy a CD or an album, now you can go buy a song. You're going to be able to buy smaller bits of content that you'll play in smaller periods of time, or creating more content and consuming more, whether it's a Call of Duty type massive game or it's an Angry Birds that you play for 5 minutes.
And in my business, we talk a lot about audience fragmentation, that we're competing with all these other different networks for the same news space. And generally in our business, that's not a good thing. But what you guys have said, it sounds like audience fragmentation has actually opened up a lot of opportunities for you.
I don't think there's any question there. Just the music styles and the different types of music has created this whole cluster to where sometimes you choose this format or you choose over another, and ultimately you build your audience around that. And it just seems almost never ending, to the extent that there's always someone coming on with something new that forces some adjustments, but at the same time, you have to make that adjustment and retain the people that you already have. So it's a challenge. It truly is a challenge.
Terri, I'm curious, in your work, do you find, are you now competing with someone who can sit and make an app that is a video game? Is that a competitor?
Yes.
And how serious is that competition?
And I guess what we're competing for is really people's time. Because, THQ was one of the leaders in the kids gaming market on the handheld gaming systems with the DS. And one of the areas that was a very profitable model, we licensed Power Rangers and different products like that. And every 5 years, a new handheld system would come out, and we'd adjust and upgrade our graphics to that system and upgrade the gameplay features. But this last cycle, when Apple introduced games on the iPod, everything changed. Because the games we were selling were $30, $40, and suddenly you could buy games, and they were not as great of graphics, not as immersive of an experience, but what the consumer really, they didn't always care about that. It was more how they could be entertained, and you can go on the App Store and there's 300,000 apps that they can download for either free or $1.99 or $4.99, and we were making games that cost much, much more than that. So we had to adjust our business model, and frankly, we had to make some hard decisions and decide, that old model of licensing product, paying a licensor for the game, paying Nintendo a royalty no longer worked for our business. And we had to just say, we can't compete with those type of products. Now on the other side, where we can compete is that 18 to 34-year-old male who would rather spend money buying a game than buying dinner. He's gonna buy a game at all costs. He's gonna afford that next game. He'll give up, you know, he'll eat McDonald's so he can buy the game. And we do believe that, you know, he's always gonna be there, and that's a profitable business model for us. So we had to adapt to where we could make money in the gaming sector.
Can a company as big as yours, I mean, could you go into the app business?
We can and we have, but breaking out and making money in that business is really difficult. So we're toying in the business, but our bread and butter will still remain in the console business, and eventually that may mean games streamed versus being on a console, but for now, that's where we see our business model working best.